me complain.
Pay me money, make I go. Pay me money, make I go. So I'd like you to introduce yourself to us.
Okay.
The way you are most comfortable with.
Sure.
Your name and what you do, and how you got into what you do now.
Has anyone ever asked me that? Well, maybe a long time ago, but not in this fashion. So, okay, my name is Kingsley Oboro. Okay. I am the CEO for BoT Studios, and BoT Studios is into film production, and it's in production. It's BoT Studios.
What does the BoT stand for? I guess.
Best of talents.
All right.
Yeah, best of talents. And that's because we've always believed that, rather it was bundle of talents back in the day. Okay. And we believed that we're going to bring people who were very talented at what they did, the best of everybody, bring them together. So it got to a point where we're doing this, I made a decision. This is not a bundle of talent. This is best of talents. Yep. And then also, best of talent actually also came from my friends who would see me like, you're so good at this, you're good at this, you're good at this. And why don't we just stick to best of talent? And that's it. Okay. So today my nickname is BoT. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. That's good. Okay.
So how did it start? You are mostly known by someone like me as a cinematographer.
Yeah. Yes, cinematographer. Yeah, the guys that handle the camera and all that.
A couple of celebrities in Nigeria.
Yes, I do.
How did it start? How did it start from your secondary school? Was it a vision you had when you were a child?
I don't think anybody ever has a vision like that. I mean, being a filmmaker, or rather, in a way, being a cinematographer or a director or a cameraman, let me say it like that, nobody really has that in mind, because today, someone handling a camera is much of a big deal, right? Sure. Back in the day, it wasn't. You know, we just call them cameraman, photographer, but today people are making millions of it, right? And it's been taken seriously, just like makeup was never taken seriously for a long time, but today it is. When I started back then in school, secondary school, I never thought of it, but it started even very, very lightly with my dad getting me books. And then I would have pictures in my head. I fantasize a lot when I was younger, but then today I know fantasy doesn't bring the reality, so we have to. So I fantasize a lot. I create pictures, but it started with reading books like James Hadley Chase. Okay. Now Chase has a very, very wild imagination when it comes to writing those books that have to do with crime fiction and all that. So I would read those books, read James Hadley Chase. Though my younger days before that, I was reading books by Enid Blyton, and they're like Famous Five, that goes back. That's going back in time. So with those pictures in my head, I never knew, I would want to see those pictures come to life. Like, I want to create my own story. So I got to writing back in secondary school before I then started acting in church. Okay. Now, most times people would say acting starts in church, and I was like, no, it doesn't. Then I realized, but bro, you were acting in church. Okay. What are you doing? So I was just like, okay. So I was acting in church, and then I was in school, my secondary school. There was the Dramatic and Debating, Literary and Debating Society. I was part of it, and they said, there's drama in it. It's not just, it's literary, debating and dramatic society. So I joined them, and I was like, what am I doing here? Because we hardly really do the real acting. In fact, there was a stage where we went for a competition, and the competition was lost. I wasn't part of it. I was just watching, and they purchased the gift and took back to the school and told the school we won. And I was watching, I was like, what?
Those guys must have been crooked.
Oh my God, I know they're watching this video right now. Well, I just have to say it. So when they did that, I had to make a stand. I cannot continue. So I stopped going for meetings and all, until there was this literature teacher who came, Anthony Bezime Mordi. And when he came, he was like, we need a club. So we created our own dramatic club while that was still existing. And we said, you guys need to port. I mean, I think before MTN and Airtel portability, we have started, you need to port. And well, I don't know if any of them did the porting, but we started acting, and people were like, you're good, man, you're good, and like, I didn't really think this was something I would continue with, you know. So after acting for a while, there was one thing, responsibility fell on me, because back then there was a motto that we had, which is verbum sapienti codera demonstradum in Latin, and that means that a word is enough for the wise.
Okay.
But
can you say it again, please?
okay, verbum sapienti
Okay.
codera demonstradum. I know I may not say it exactly like the Latin, first of all, that was what it was. So it meant a word is enough for the wise, which must be proven. You must prove that a word is enough for the wise. You can't just say it and you're not proving it. That means you need to live by example as well. So what I did was, my teacher back then was the head of the club. I was president, but he looked at it and said, he was the director. He left. I mean, he just left because I think it was father or mom, he lost one of them. So he went without even telling them. So when we came back, they said, he's gone. He traveled and there were no phones. So he couldn't really reach out to say, hey, please, I'm not going to be around, right? So what I did was I looked at the whole thing. I was like, am I going to handle this? So I said, let's do it. So we had like 3 days to the competition. I went through the whole thing. We started acting and all that. I started directing, changing some things. I felt this was happening like naturally.
How old were you then?
Man, when it comes to age, I'm not too good at that.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, I've not been able to draw a timeline of my age difference in between while coming down.
After secondary school.
That was in the school. I was in secondary school. Yeah, I was in school. I was in my SS3, I think. SS3 or SS2, one of those. Yeah, so I told them we need to do this. So we're acting like I was changing directions, saying do this, no, you need to do it this way, you need to do it this way. So there was a poem we're supposed to perform. So I looked at the poem. Now this thing, I think about it right now and I'm like, did you really do this? So I looked at it, I said, look, this poem is about a spider. We need to buy a spider. So I used my own money because, I mean, I was this guy that I sacrificed like that if I know it's for the arts and it's going to be lovely. So I bought a spider in the market, but I couldn't really find an exact spider. It was an ant looking like a spider, really big. So I bought it and I started going through the poem. I had to change a few things, very few, just to come without. It was a poem by Eliza Cook, but I had to talk about Jaja Afopo, but I just changed the name. So when we went for the competition, something happened. And that thing was an eye-opener for me. While the performance was going on, because I'd been able to just cram, I would call it cramming for 3 days, this poem. The script. Yes. So the production was beautiful. But when it was time for the poem, we had a spider. So this guy is there to control the spider. What I did is I put a thread, so it was to control the spider. Okay. And while he was doing that, this mechanics kind of thing, while he was doing that, I was the one narrating the poem from backstage. While I was narrating, the guy that was performing, I was on stage, the guy that was performing was doing this thing, and all of a sudden, the point where the spider was supposed to drop, where I was to say the spider was coming down, they started doing it. The spider wasn't coming down. I was almost mad, but instantly, this happened within less than a second. I switched. I lost the lines because something had pushed me away from that track. So I lost I lost the lines, and then the miracle happened. I began to create my own lines. And that has helped me a lot today to understand sometimes you fall, don't even make people know you fell. Just stand up and keep moving. So I created my own lines and I started talking. And the guy performing right there on stage, he was like, he knew what was going on. He started acting it. And we're on. So the moment,
symphony.
Yes. So the very end of that poem, I knew the lines. So I just, like 1 or 2 lines, bam, bam, bam. And that was it. And we're gone. So that was the end of it. So the moment I stepped off, I was mad. I called everybody. I said, how can you do it? So I saw people looking at me like, this guy, they just had a performance. Why is he angry? So I had to keep my cool. I took them outside. I was like, what's wrong with you? What happened? I know what I did. I gave you guys the right thread. And I said, okay, it was the teacher who came and said, we should change the thread to a better thread. I said, but that thread is wool. It's going to get stuck with the wood. And just like I was angry, I was mad, furious, all my veins were sticking out. I just said, I'm the winner for poetry, St. Augustine's College. I was like, what? I mean, what? We just stepped in. We got the prize for that, and we got the prize for poetry. And I think that was just a few years ago, 3 years ago. I met one of the teachers. I said, sir, I went to Asaba and I said, sir, let me tell you the truth. You know the poem you guys give us a prize for? Do you know that I lost those lines and created mine? And to my shock, he said, we knew.
So probably your creativity.
Yes, they said the fact that you could pick up and you did not let, in fact, it did not show.
Wow.
Because he said you gave us the scripts. I mean, the point, it was right in front of us and we were following and we saw you were off it, but you created lines and they were intelligible, they were intelligent enough, and it had a story and you could wrap it up. And that was why you won.
Those guys should be commended.
Yes, they were the right judge. The right judges for that. I mean, we hardly really have judges like that. You just go off script sometimes and they just say you've lost these days. Yeah, this is so
interesting. I love this.
So so that was it. And then from there, I think gradually the picture of wanting to be a filmmaker may have been working that way. And then I went to school like in what's called Delta State University. Now, when I got to Delta State University, what happened there? The acting was there, right? I was acting, but before that, since I was in fine applied arts and then moved to theater arts.
You didn't go to the university to study theater art from the word go?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
You went to study.
I wanted to study law. My father wanted law. I mean, whose father did he want law?
Okay.
They wanted law or accounting or medicine.
Yeah, those
right.
things.
Yes, those.
Law,
Yes,
yes.
engineering. Or engineering, exactly.
Yes,
so my dad was like, law, you must all be lawyers. And I think maybe that was why he was getting us books. But one thing I really appreciate him for is he was giving us homeschooling. There was a board in the house. He would come from work. He would still say, okay, pronounce this word.
It was your tutor too.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was our tutor. Myself and my younger brother, he would, I remember this word again and again. Let's pronounce this word, onomatopoeia. Again, onomatopoeia. Again and again, onomatopoeia. I mean, so we were learning like that. So getting to the university, like I said, I was there. I didn't know about like theater arts. Why would I want to? People don't take things like that serious. Of course, it's like that serious. So I was like, I don't want to study theater arts ever. Why would I want to do that? I want to be a lawyer, right? Mm-hmm. So, I did with admissions. I did my diploma in law, first of all, in Uniben. Mm-hmm. And then from Uniben, that was when I moved. Because my dad looked at it. I was almost done with the diploma course.
You didn't complete it?
No, I didn't. My dad said, why would you be doing this? I heard from a friend that if you are there, when you're done with this, you cannot have a direct entry. It won't be that easy for you. So why are we spending all that money? But we had spent almost all of the money. So, I mean, but then I said, well, I have to listen to him. So I left and I went to do my pre-degree course in fine arts because there were a lot of science courses. In fact, the other name for the pre-degree back in the day, I don't know about now, is called pre-science. Okay. Yes, so there were so many science courses, microbiology, pharmacy, but the art courses were very few. And of course, I wasn't good in mathematics. Well, I'm good in money mathematics. You can give me some money, I'll be good with it. So I just got there. I did the fine art course first year. And then it was in the works for me to get into law. So I was supposed to get a form. Now, while I was in my first year, that was when I took two elective courses from theater arts. Okay. Now, those two elective courses that I took, one of them was acting, a lot of acting.
Practical. 100%.
Practical. Well, there's no 100% in theater arts. That's what people don't know. Wow. In theater arts, there is no 100%. In fact, we're reading books as big as this. Okay. Introduction to Theater by Oscar Brockett. Right? So while you're acting, you still have to go back to the books. Mm. So people usually say back then that theater arts now play departments. That was the connotation for it.
Subject courses like theater art, physical and health education, and probably fine art. People look at them as
yes. So the first year I had in fine applied arts was great. Well, but when it comes to the drawing and the painting, I don't want to talk about them. But while I was there, I was made coordinator for my first year. Well, I don't know. They just made me coordinator after a vote. And so I was coordinator first year. Moving to the second year, nobody was expecting I would want to leave, but it was something I already knew. But then it was law. It was law or nothing. And switching from a department to another has a huge risk. Now, this is the risk. When you are signed out from a department, automatically you're not a student of that university. You are sitting on the fence. So if no department accepts you, you're gone. Your admission is gone. Wow. So I had to hold on to that form. I got it for 1,000 naira. So, well, what are the odds? I'm just going to hold on to it and think about this. So I thought about it and I said, look, you're not happy in fine applied arts. Are you going to be happy in law? I mean, studying law, are you going to be happy? because doing it is something I knew I was going to spend some time in, and I love to be happy. I love to be at peace with myself. So I was trying to make the decision, law or theater arts. Now, theater arts is not the kind of course you can just walk up to your father and say, hey, I want to study theater arts.
Those days especially.
Yes, exactly. So my dad was like, you want to go and study acting? You understand? That would be what he would say. So I thought of it. Then one day I walked into the head of department's office. There's Dr. Anigala, Austin Anigala. He's now a professor. When I walked in there, I was to pick up a book, and he said, when are you joining us, young man? Now, prior to this, there was a production going on stage. One day, that's something I don't forget. And because NAFAS means National Association of Fine and Applied Art Students, and ARTAS means Association of Theater Art Students. Now, while I was acting, because look, the audience is the flesh and blood. I love stage acting, you know. So while the acting was going on, the stage was on fire, you know. I was just doing this with my crew, my colleagues rather, my classmates. They felt it so much that the theater art students screamed, greatest artist! That's Great Association of Theater Art Students. But fine art students were like, this is our man, we know him. He's not a theater artist, he's a fine artist. So they said, no, greatest NAFAS! And I felt it. I mean, I could feel the good pimples all over. So after that, people were like, look, you are good at this. This is your thing. But they didn't need to tell me. I could feel it. It's more like if you're doing something wrongly, you feel it in your bones. You know, so I could feel it. So that day when I went there, the head of the department said, when are you joining us? That was all the push I needed. He never knew I had a form sitting in my room right there. So my friend was asking me one time, like, look, how's it like? You want to leave fine art? I told her this. I said, for me, this is how fine art is. When I sleep on my bed, when I wake up, it's all messed up. It's rumpled. The bed sheets is so elsewhere. That's because I don't sleep peacefully. I'm just rolling over. I want to sleep fine.
You don't see yourself belonging to that cause
at all. It wasn't there. There were people who this thing was. It wasn't them. True. There were people who it wasn't just about drawing. They were creative with other things. There's this guy, Justin Ugen. Now this guy was not just creative. He could create your speaker. He would just buy the raw materials and he would create it. These were the guys. They could think outside of the box within that. But then they created more. There were people who, like when we were given the charcoal pencil, I mean, I'm trying to learn how to use the pencil and you give me a charcoal pencil. So I just like, what? So we got a charcoal pencil, you know, and it's an expensive course. That's one thing again. Very expensive because what you're using is it's expendable. It's living. It's not like you're using the paints, the acrylic paints. You're using the oil paints. They're going. It's not like they are just there. You can always go. They go. You have to buy.
They're getting
finished. You have to buy. You're practicing. You're practicing. They're going. They're consumables. True. So they're going. You have to. So apart from being expensive, I don't think I was thinking about expenses though. For that, but apart from being expensive, I wasn't just now. Since I said sitting on the fence, of course, is a dangerous thing when you want to sign out. So I went this way, that way. Find out said you are not leaving. So it wasn't easy because I was coordinator, and they saw me. Oh, he's got some qualities. It's looking good for us. So they don't want to let you go. So the good thing is, if you are okay, you're good. They don't want to let you go. But for me, I wasn't good enough. So why would you want to keep me? So in fact, it wasn't easy, but thank God for one doctor who had to talk to the head of department, and so they signed me out. And I came to theater arts, and that was it. But I do remember that when I came to theater arts, the head of department looked at me and told me, you'll be losing a year, but you can start the second year with us, and you will be with your mates, but you would repeat a lot of courses. That means you're going to rewrite a lot of courses. And I told them this. I said, sir, with all due respect, I can't do that. Because if I do, every human being will be transparent to me, because I would put all my focus on my books. I wouldn't see humans anymore. And that's not what I want. So I said, please, sir, I want to do 100 level. And that was it. So that was how the journey began.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe one of your most funny childhood experiences?
Oh, my dad is going to... Is he going to love this one, or there's going to be a revelation for this one? Okay. Funny enough, one of those childhood experiences or that's happening, should I say this? Okay. Okay. Now, while growing up, there's this thing, it's a bit of theft, stealing from my father. So we had a poetry. Now, if my dad is watching this, he's going to say, I now know what happened to those chickens.
Okay, you never had a chance to tell him before now.
Well, I didn't think there was any need.
Okay, cast now. Okay,
So while growing up, we had a lot of chickens in the poultry. We took care of them. My dad would teach us how to take care of them. And while we're doing that, I had friends and my brother too, friends. So while we're there, my dad would go to work in his Beetle, you know, the Volks car back in the day. While he's at work, we'll get this chicken. We just get one of the fat chickens. We'll kill it. And
you and who?
Me and my friends. I mean, they are spread all over the country. In fact, not the country, all over the world. One in Canada, and if he's watching this, he's gonna laugh and maybe tell his wife the story. But we'll just kill this chicken, and one person, you're gonna bring rice.
Okay.
You're gonna bring the ingredients, and I'm going to bring the chicken, or me and my brother will bring the chicken. Of course, chicken is the main thing there, main toast. So we'll prepare the food, and everybody will eat it together. So we'll call it Oggy. You know, as which is called for us organization. You know, so that team, collaborating. So that team was already there. And on one occasion, one time, when my dad were preparing it, and funny enough, this has a very huge influence on my feel for chicken today. We're preparing this chicken. The chicken was boiled, but we had not done any frying on any, you know. So my dad just came back unexpectedly. You know how those things work, man. Everybody back door, out. And so we carried it hot, poured it into one thick nylon. You know, so that night, me and my brother were eating chicken till morning. Like, it was just that chicken cooked, not fried, no other ingredients, and we're eating it. That was all we're eating. And that was it. And when I remember it, I'm just like,
Did it catch you? It didn't catch you?
No, he didn't.
You
He
were
didn't.
able to cover it
Yes, I was
very
able to cover. He almost did, because while I was eating the chicken, he walked into the room. He saw me and he was asking me a question, and I was acting like I was having pains and all that.
Were you like a bad boy?
Well, sincerely speaking, yes.
So my next question.
Okay.
I'd like you to tell us about your top 3 motivations in life.
3.
Now, if you don't have up to 3 and you're more comfortable with 1 or 2, please go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm comfortable with 1.
Okay.
Motivate. Well, maybe more than 1. First off, I think I motivate myself a lot too. I do. But one thing I'll talk about that has motivated me is something that happened in my past. I've always seen ladies as inferior in the past. I don't know where that came from, right?
Okay.
Now, while I was in school, like my GSS1, that wasn't the first GS1 I had though. While I was in school, my GSS1, there was this lady, she came to us, I was in the school, and she was like, hey, I want to be part of you guys. And I'm like, come on, get out with your long gogo. Now, of course, long gogo means long head. I don't know why. Yes, why am I that brutal? Or why was I that brutal? So she felt really bad. We went back home. Next day, we were told to recite, or rather to tell the creation story, which was in front of our notebooks, and none of us could do that.
Okay.
But she did. And I was shocked. And so they told her to flog us, not just flog us in front of our palms. She had to do it back of our palms, our hands. She did that round. The next day again, they told us, the physical education teacher said, everybody should define physical education. And she did. And she had to flog every one of us again. And look, that was it for me. And after that day, I made sure I woke up 1 a.m. every day, and I would read my books. Later on, I moved it to 2 a.m. and I would read. I kept reading to the extent that, look, my brain couldn't take it anymore, of course. Like they say, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So I was working so hard. I was reading so hard, to the extent that even right now, till this moment, I can even define my GSS1. I can give the definition of physical education from my GSS1, you know. So that point for me was a huge change for me. I began to understand that, look, you don't need to look at people like, oh, this one is a lady and so she can't really do it, or this one is like this. So since then, I think till date, I don't look down on people. And that's something that it gives me a push to want to do things well. And some people will look at me and be like, hey, like is the Almighty or is the High and Mighty is BoT. But for me, I don't see it that way. And that for me is a lot. I don't say I see myself as being in the same level with everyone. And I like the fact that I've gotten to see people who would just walk with their shorts and almost just walk like normal people. But these guys have got billions and millions in their accounts. And that's what happens every day. But people don't understand that. And aside that, I would say that having that lady do that to me, it's pushed me. But that wasn't all. When I left that school, like I said, I've got episodes, maybe one season or season 2, 3, 4. So when I left that school, I went to Federal Government College, Warri. I met another lady. Now, prior to that, I wasn't the best pupil in my primary school. Okay. Among 60 pupils, I was going like 40 something, 50 something. I dull. Yes. I was dull. I mean, I was just this guy. I was a nobody, right? So English was something. Yes, it was English because my dad would travel out of the country, buy books, and a Blighting Famous Five and stuff, So I would always read them. James Hadley Chase, I would collect his. I haven't read one of his books and then read others as well. The Man Died by Wole Soyinka. Where I saw this line, metal jars on my drink globes. Somebody tell me why God is crying on my beer. And I thought, what's this man talking about? God is crying on your beer? But he was simply saying it's raining. He was describing how, it's not the place wasn't so tushed. So I was like, how can someone imagine things like that? That God crying on the beer meant it was raining, so the place wasn't looking so posh. So I always had that imaginative experience. Now, moving to Federal Government College, Warri, I met this girl who always came first, Chigozie Ogbuka. I don't forget names when you give it to me hard. Look, my brain feels it hard, so it takes it either the retentive or eidetic memory. So Chigozie was always coming first, and I was struggling so hard to beat her. But no way, I wasn't even close. Now at the point, I told myself, this is a lady. She's doing it. So you need to understand, the people are people. So that kept pushing me on and on and on, and till date, I still stick to things like that. So when I see people for the first time, I don't judge them like I used to. I see you, then prove yourself to me. I'm not going to judge you because you're wearing shorts or because, of course, shorts are good. They're more expensive than pants, okay? So, but I'm just saying you should understand what I'm trying to say. So that's about it, yes.
What will be your 5 takeaway on a getaway? I will explain what I mean.
Oh, please do.
So let's say you're going to be away from your house, or I don't want to use the word stranded, but probably you have to be away and you can only take 5 things. Maybe you're going away for about 1 week to a place you don't know. What are the 5 things you will take? It can't be more than 5.
Where did you get a question like that from? Jesus Christ. 5 things I would take. That doesn't involve the basic needs like food, clothing, shelter. Food and clothing is not. No. It's not part of it.
No.
Okay.
But any other thing.
The very first thing is my phone. The second thing, funny enough, is another phone, and that phone is the computer.
Okay. So first thing your phone, second thing your computer.
Yes. Those are the 2 things.
Laptop?
Yes, my laptop. Right. Okay. What's the third thing? It's looking at you right now. It's something I would love to be with up here. It's my camera.
Okay.
So I don't know if
because that's your tool.
Yes, that's when I see questions on WhatsApp or on Instagram where they get to tell you if you were in an island with no phone and this, would you? And you're given a book. I do understand I want books. I used to read books a lot, but these days I don't. Yes, they say if you want to hide something from an African, put it in a book. But for me, yes, we should be reading books, but we've gone digital a whole lot. Like we won't find these books online. We have them in audiobooks, right? And if I go to a place like that, I'm leaving, even with my camera, I think I would survive. Yeah, without my phone, give me my computer and give me my camera, I would survive. I mean, creating my ideas and seeing them. I don't know, is there anything like loving to hear yourself talk. I don't know, but I just love to create ideas and see them, and I love seeing myself talk about things, and I just like pictures like that. So aside that, I like to create ideas of other people as well, and then I watch it. So I think my camera is the third thing. The fourth thing, I don't know what the fourth thing is. Yeah.
Question. Listen very well.
Okay.
If you could go back into your past and you have the power to correct something, what could it be? What would you like to correct in your past, if there is any?
If I had to correct anything in the past, funny enough, the things I should say yes, those are the things I want to correct. They are now things that have led to this moment.
I love that.
Yeah, they have shaped me and made me meet.
So they become a part of your journey.
Yes, there's been. Back then, I would say, "Oh my God, why am I in this situation? You know, why am I having to come to theater arts and repeat, or rather do my 100 level again? Why do I have to go to several secondary schools? Why do I have to meet different people in different parts of the world? You know, but it's shaping me." So I don't. Do I have regrets about my past? No, I don't. Is there something I would want to change? Yes, but right now I don't think I know what it is.
Coronavirus, come to divide us. Open for market, we know this is tighter. Things they go from plus to minus. Oh, please come protect us from this virus.
Coronavirus, oh.
Keep it sanitized.
Coronavirus, oh.
Sanitized.